Hello everybody, I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And I'm still tweaking the GLAD techniques, guided language acquisition development, for my secondary classroom, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And today we're going to talk about points for table groups, which is a staple of the GLAD technique. So this is really solid gamification, which is what I love. Gamification, again, is using the trappings, the bells and whistles of games to make the class more engaging to students, okay? So I've got my classroom arranged in table groups. I stole some chemistry tables that were going to go to the dumpster, and I said I would take those because I don't like the desks with the bars in them. We were always barking our shins as we jumped up. So I have a bunch of chemistry tables, and each group seats 6. I've got 2 here and 1 here and 1 here and 2 more here, and generally I'm up here at the board. So we've got the different groups already, but maybe you've got rows and you can just number your rows, or maybe make quadrants or something, whatever works in your classroom. So another thought that I do after I did the table groups and I got tired of saying this table here, this table there, and for a while we were using prepositions of location, the table in the right front. But then I decided, yeah, you know what? Spanish class, pick a country that speaks Spanish. French class, pick a country that speaks French. Japanese class, pick a prefecture. So that's kind of fun, and that gets them to know some locations a little better. We could do some map talks around that. So this is where you're going to reward all those soft skills that don't go into the grade book. Now, this is from a CTE thing, because I have my CTE certification also. Communication here does not mean learning to speak another language, okay? We're already grading on that. This is like intercommunication, where you've got a team and you're working well with your team, okay? And maybe, maybe you don't want to put that part in the grade book because you've got a student who's still struggling with the affective filter and they're still in the silent period or whatever, but they are working well with their team, and they're gesturing and they're not sitting out any of the activities. They just are too embarrassed to speak up too much yet, okay? So it's that kind of communication. It's the communication involved in teamwork, not necessarily you're learning another language communication, because of course we're grading on that. There's the leadership skills. Maybe you've got someone who's really helping out everyone in class, but that really shouldn't go in the grade book. Teamwork shouldn't really go in the grade book. You've got a project, a group project, and if one person isn't pulling their weight, you don't want to bring down the rest of the team. That's not really fair. At least not generally. Sometimes I can see that it would be, but not generally. Problem solving, you want to reward that. Time management, you want to reward that. These are soft skills, we call them. And so at this point, you're going to say, good job working together, Quebec. You get 5 points, but it's not points for the grade book. It's just this imaginary points. Like when you're playing a basketball game and you get points. Those points don't go in the grade book. You're just playing the basketball game in PE class, right? Given our recent focus on social emotional learning, this is really important to call out. We who teach communication already embed a ton of SEL into our instruction, social emotional learning. We have it a ton because we're always having our students talk to each other, get up and find someone who, talk to your elbow partner, work on this project together. We've already embedded the social emotional learning so much into our instruction, so it's not a big deal for us to draw attention to these little bits and pieces because it's everything that we do. You can put a poster up, which is what GLAD recommends. Here's an example. But as I said in previous videos, I don't have much wall space. I've got my conjugation charts. Here I've written my conjugation charts for one class for French on a projection screen. And I did the same for Spanish on a projection screen. And they're in front of whiteboards. And when I need the whiteboard behind it, I pull up the conjugation chart. And when I need the scaffolding, I pull the conjugation chart down. So my walls are already doing double duty. My Japanese students they like to organize hiragana, katakana. We've got a big chart up for des mas form and des and dewa arimasen and present tense, future tense, present tense, which is future tense, and past tense. And those charts are all over the classroom. and rejoinders, and I don't have much wall space, and I've got 6 classes a day. So this is one of the reasons that I am adapting the GLAD techniques for a secondary language classroom, because if I were teaching elementary school, this would stay up for months and months and months. But in a secondary language classroom, I've got 6 classes coming in and out throughout the day, and if I have a poster per class, that's an entire wall that I can't use. And if I put it up for one class and then take it down and put it up and then take it down and then put it up, that's way too much of my time. And I'm already exhausted by the end of the day with all my preps. So instead, I turn to some online tools. And there's 2 that I've experimented with, and I'll tell you about both of them. This is classcraft.com. And this is very much like this. What it's meant for is you're playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons with your class. And so you're rewarding all those social emotional learning things by giving their characters weapons or potions or unlocking another little situation for them. That's how you're rewarding them. And I'm not using it to its full potential because it's really huge, and really all I want is a place to dump points and say, okay, Ecuador, you've done really well today. You get 10 points. Here, I've put them here. You can decorate your avatar with those 10 points, or you can, buy a potion or whatever with those 10 points. So you can buy pets also with Classcraft. So I'm not really using it to its full potential. So hopefully in the future, I'll be able to experiment more with it and make a giant video about Classcraft. And then I'm also using Class Dojo. And Class Dojo, I have to say, I'm going to be using more than Classcraft now that I have a friend who works there. And so because I have a friend who works there, she's helping me figure out Class Dojo a little bit more. They have one little section that's very Minecrafty, where you can have your students build things. And I discovered accidentally one summer when I was teaching summer school that students who come to summer school from outside the district can't get into my tenant for Minecraft, which was really annoying because I'd spent a lot of time making some really fun stuff on Minecraft for education, and the students couldn't get in. So I had to quickly pivot, and flexibility is the name of the game when you're a teacher. But I'm going to try it again, but this time using Class Dojo this summer. So I'll let you know how it goes. And Class Dojo has a very active French group now. So I'm getting a lot of pointers from them, which is really great. And I'll say for both of these, Classcraft and Class Dojo, you can put them in French or Spanish. Can't put them in Japanese yet, so I kind of have to bridge the gap there. But for both of these, it's really easy to group students. And then you say, okay, Guatemala, you've done great today, and you just click, you put all the points in for all the students that are in Guatemala all at the same time, and then they can decorate their avatars with those points. And that's what I'm doing with either Classcraft or Class Dojo. I'm not using them both at the same time. I'm just experimenting with different classes. But that's the extent of what I'm doing right now with them, is to kind of play around with this angle of guided language acquisition development. In our next episode, which is probably the last of my tweakings of GLAD, we're going to look at cite, source, prove it, how do you know, and show me. See you then.